This is WBSM On Demand.
Good morning. Good morning. I want to thank Ward 1 City Council Leo Choquette. Good guy. He and Tom Hodgson, a nice crossover. Tom, always good to see Leo, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, good guy. Great guy.
We're now joined by the chairman of the Trump campaign here in Massachusetts, former sheriff of Bristol County, Tom Hodgson. Tom, great news, right? Great news coming out of Washington and down of Florida about the Trump administration. But what about the reaction of, in particular, Governor Healey and the mayor of Boston? What do you think of these two who are really digging their high heels in?
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me just tell you, the governor, I'm not surprised. I dealt with her when she was Attorney General, and she's been anti-law when it comes to illegal immigration. She's been pro-illegal. She was on the other side of the border in Mexico when I was at the processing station in McAllen when I was at the border. And the same day, and she's talking about, you can see it online, why it's wrong that the United States won't let people come in illegally. She's an attorney general, took an oath to uphold the rule of law.
Right.
And she's encouraging these people to come in violation of our laws. And then the most recent thing that should outrage everybody in Massachusetts, and I'm shocked that the legislature in Massachusetts hasn't stood up at the moment this happened and said, this is outrageous, you cannot do this. She shut down the community center in Roxbury where moms and dads were having their kids go after school and on the weekends so they wouldn't get exposed to the fentanyl pouring in over the border.
Right.
The sex and human trafficking that's going on in our communities. You've got over 300,000 missing children. And she says to these moms and dads, hey, basically, look, I realize you're trying to keep your kids safe, but you know what? It's more important for me that I take care of people who violated the rule of law knowingly, came into this country because they need a place to stay. So your kids just have to go out on the street corner, and mom and dad, you're just going to have to roll the dice. It's the way it goes. And then, of course, the Boston mayor, you would have thought she would have jumped up and gone, what the hell are you doing?
Right.
But she didn't. These are two people that took an oath to protect not only the people of their communities, the legal residents who are here, and the neighborhoods, and frankly, this nation, but you have an obligation to uphold the rule of law. When you start siding with the lawbreakers at the expense of not just literally the expense money-wise,
right,
but the expense but you can't put your price on it, are these kids' lives.
Yes.
Is outrageous. And they ought not to be in public office. If you can't even do the basic fundamental thing, which is a responsibility of government, which first and foremost, keep your citizens safe that are blindly trusting you to do it, and you basically knowingly turn your back on them.
Before you were the sheriff, before you were New Bedford City Council. A lot of people forget that. And before that, you were a police officer. But when you were a city councilor in New Bedford, had the governor done something like that in the city of New Bedford, what would your reaction have been? And what do you think the mayor, say Mayor Taney or Mayor Lang's reaction would have been to shutting down a community center for illegal aliens?
I think they would have stood up and said,
I agree.
Absolutely not. You're not doing that to our kids.
Right.
You're not doing that to our community. You have a job to do, and like the rest of us, and you're not going to undermine our ability to keep our citizens and communities safe. But she continues to do it. She doesn't care. She's all about her ideology, which is not consistent with the majority of people in Massachusetts or across the country. And she needs to be held accountable for it.
We have Tom Hodgson here in studio. Tom, we've got a local matter. You've been through it. The left wing, the radical open border left wing is going after a fine American, Plymouth County Sheriff McDonald, over there in Plymouth County. He's got the last remaining facility with steel and cement to keep illegal aliens from preying on the citizens of Massachusetts. Talk about what's going on over there, Tom.
Well, we got, two other winners, Senator Markey and Senator Warren, who have come out, even though he renewed his 5-year contract, saying, oh, no, we think we should still look at shutting it down because of these left-wing activists who have been criticizing the holding of these detention, the ICE detention, at our sheriff's offices. And honestly, the fact that they're doing this is no different than what they did to me when I was sheriff.
Right.
Exact same blueprint they're using, saying, oh, the place is filthy, all lies, right? You would think if Senator Warren and Senator Markey would take a step and publicly say we should shut it down, even though the contract's been renewed, based on these activist groups, and never call the sheriff, never visit our facilities, never do any of that, it's obvious they have an ideology and an agenda that's not supportive of what we need. And if I could say one last thing about this, Chris, which is the importance of having sheriffs, local law enforcement, right, state police, all working in collaboration with our federal partners, ICE included. We still have partnerships and collaboration, state police, local police, sheriffs, serving on the ATF task forces, DEA, FBI, yet they won't let the one federal agency that's having the biggest impact on our communities, ICE, work with local law enforcement so they can maximize their manpower to be able to get these criminals out of the community as quickly as possible and not have them, when they get arrested, come into prisons and be released right away.
Right.
That's what we should be. That's our charge. And you're going to deny us that?
So when you say renew the contract, Sheriff McDonald from Plymouth County, which is Rochester, Marion, Mattapoisett, Lakeville, Carver, big part of this listening audience, he renewed it with ICE, right?
Yes, he did. 5 years. And but that doesn't mean anything.
Right.
I mean, mine was renewed as well. And as we've talked about before, we have a Freedom of Information request of 205 pages that we got that shows the ACLU with Mara Healy, back and forth communication down to DHS, down to Mayorkas, and back and forth it went, all a political plot to shut down our operation and harm the people of our county, which I was sworn to protect.
That's New Bedford, Fairhaven, Dartmouth, Freetown, Bristol County. And now there's no place in Bristol County to hold illegal aliens.
No, there's not.
The only place left in if I'm understanding this, is over there in Plymouth County.
Yes.
And that is why the communist left is zeroed in on Sheriff McDonald.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. As they were me.
Yes. Tom.
They were protesting me in Connecticut.
They were protesting Governor Cellucci when he landed on the ground in Spain.
Yeah.
I remember that. Governor Cellucci was protested by the communists in Spain because of his support of you.
Yes. Yeah. And that's, look, I think the public has been able to see exactly what's going on. It's been exposed now. The establishment is not something that people feel is supportive of them anymore. In fact, they found it to be very corrupt. And it really has been sort of an insider baseball sort of thing that's happened in Washington.
Right.
And so people are now saying, you know what? You've been using us, Democrats, Independents, and Republicans. We trusted you to do the job, and all you've been doing is lining your pockets and building your power bases around fighting with one another over party positioning, and never really caring about our issues. They were always pushed to the bottom of the priority list.
Tom, let's talk to the people of Plymouth County, because they're the ones who really have the control here. People in Lakeville, people in Mattapoisett and Marion, people in Rochester, people in Wareham, people in Carver, people in Plymouth. Talk to the people in Plymouth County about what they can do to help Sheriff McDonald, Joe McDonald over there, preserve the last remaining place to hold criminal illegal aliens.
Yeah, first of all, stand up with the sheriff for having the courage to do this. He's very focused, always has been, on his responsibilities as sheriff down in Plymouth. And people can write letters to the editor.
Yes.
Say, we want this. We want our communities to be safe. If other counties don't in Massachusetts, that's their business. But for us, you are not going to undermine us. We stand behind our sheriff.
Right.
He's doing the right things. He's standing up for his oath. And hopefully the other sheriffs in Massachusetts will do the same thing.
They need to talk to their state reps, their state senators, right?
Absolutely.
Even if they are Republicans, if they're Republicans, steal their backbone, right? If they're Democrats, tell them, you got to do the right thing here, right? Because just because you're a Democrat doesn't mean you're immune to illegal alien crime, right, Tom?
Right. And Chris, that's a great point. Look, we talked about Mayor Wu and we talked about Governor Healy. But the truth of the matter is, while they're not going to stand up and do the right thing, how does any legislator, I don't care what party you're in, knowing that the fundamental responsibility of government is to take care of the people of your community, to protect them at all costs, that's first and foremost. If you don't have a safe republic, you can't have a republic.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So So every one of those people ought to be standing up. And if they're not, then the people in their community ought to be calling them out and saying, I want you to say something about Mara Healy. I want you to call her out and say that you don't agree, that she's shut down community centers, that she's encouraging illegals to come here into our neighborhoods and pushing drugs on our kids, and then allowing people on the terrorist watch list and wherever else feel comfortable to come to Massachusetts. It's not okay, and we're not going to tolerate it.
We have Tom Hodgson, chairman of the Trump campaign. Tom, you had a real hardcore group of volunteers, great Americans all over Massachusetts. Now the campaign's over. We're going into the holiday season. But there's a lot of people who still have calories to burn, right? They still want to do stuff to help President Trump, to move his agenda and make him a successful president. What can people do now, Tom? What should they do?
Well, they should get involved in these. I know there's questions on legally whether you can recall the governor. There's a movement right now going on where people are signing on. I think it just started. They're up to over almost 10,000 signatures. They need 360,000 to recall the governor. If she's not going to do the job she was asked to do, we need to get somebody in there to do it. Get involved. Start looking at running for city council.
Yes.
Start running for local boards.
Yeah, Board of Selectmen, Finance Committee, all that, right?
Because I think what this has done in this election, Chris, I think people have realized that, wait a minute, for the longest time we silenced our voices.
Yep.
And you know what? We saw what we got for that.
Your neighbors agree with you and you didn't realize it.
Right.
Your neighbors agree with you and you just didn't realize it.
Right. So now what we're realizing is, wait a minute, our forefathers, they knew exactly what needed to be done.
Yep.
And we've learned those lessons from what we've experienced now. Sometimes it takes the old saying, in order to get out, you got to go through.
Right.
We went through and realized, oh, wait a minute, this isn't good for us. Let's take back control of our government. Let's take back control of our destiny, and let's get involved. Start getting involved. And I encourage people, run for city council, run for
look at that Ward 2. The Ward 2 went completely for Donald Trump. That is a pickup for couldn't be a pickup for the Republicans if the right people step forward and run in Ward 2.
And you know that's a great point, Chris, because for all the times that people said, oh, you can't win in this ward because it's more liberal than another ward, people just said, no, it isn't really about those labels anymore. It's about what matters for us.
Tom, how long had you been living in the city of New Bedford before you got elected to city council?
Well, I came in 88 and I ran in 92.
Right. And you just went out, you'd met a ton of people, had a good message, knocked on doors.
Yep. And people told me, hey, you're probably not going to win your first time. I remember Bob Kazera coming up to me after the primary. I came in 7th. We thought we were getting into the top 3. Okay. We were disappointed, but we knew we had to regroup. And I remember the day after the primary, he came up to me and said, hey, listen, for a new guy, that's really good. You did really well. 2 years go by quick. I said, I don't know where you came from, but this is halftime for me. Right? This is halftime. I owe it to the people to go out and work harder and knock on more doors, and I did.
And you won.
And I won, yeah.
First time on the ballot, he won entire city of New Bedford. Won at large.
I think we came in 4th and out of 5.
Yeah.
But that was a tribute really to the people that trusted me,
right?
The people that worked with me. I wasn't from here, so.
But don't discount. You had to work your ass off to do it.
Oh yeah,
right. It is about work. And it was fun, and you did it.
Yeah, and it's funny, Chris. I would go nonstop, knocking on doors, all the way down Tarleton Hill Road, and then I'd be so tired at the end of the day, and I'd go, all right, I'm heading back to my car. And I would always do this. What would my opponent do right now?
Right.
Probably get in the car and go home.
Right.
I'm not going home till I get 3 more doors.
I love it.
And that's what I would always do.
Yes.
And so what it proved to me was that if you show people that you really care about what matters to them and you're willing to work for it, they'll give you a shot.
Yes.
They because you're talking about things that matter. You're showing that you're interested in understanding what goes on. So there's a lot of people, a lot of great candidates out there that don't even know they're candidates yet.
Exactly.
If they're willing to go out and work, they can do great things for their community, be involved, and continue to take back government as we need to do.
Tom, I think we haven't met a lot of selectmen, finance committee members, school committee members, and city councilors yet. In other words, they're out there. We meet them every day. but they don't know they are yet. We
Right.
don't know they are yet, but it's all going to materialize. I think it's an amazing feeling that's going on. I can feel it all over this community.
And Chris, I'm coming out of a grocery store. One of the people, they remember I was a Trump chairman. I feel so good. I had a guy stop me the other day. I was going to the Christie Cumberland's, and he goes, he talked to me for about 15 minutes. Nice man.
Yeah.
About I get up in the morning, I feel so good.
Right.
What he's saying is, I feel a relief that we can take back government and do what's right for us and our families. It's really important.
Tom, we have a great sponsor here. It's Mac Auto Sales, 188 Rivet Street, New Bedford. Actually, we'll be down there later today, right on Rivet Street. Repairing all makes and models. So if you need to get your car ready for the coming winter, and I'm sure you do, or you're looking for someone new to repair your car this year, call Mac Auto Sales and Repair, 508-565-6221. They're open weekdays 9 to 5. They specialize in servicing foreign automobiles. So if you have a foreign automobile, head over to Mac Auto Sales. Now, if you need a new car, new to you car, ask Mac Auto Sales about the quality used cars that they have for sale right at 188 Rivet Street in New Bedford. Go to Mac Auto Sales. Tell them Chris McCarthy sent me. We'll be right back. Program. I'm Chris McCarthy. We have the chairman of the Trump campaign in Massachusetts, former Bristol County Sheriff Tom Hodgson, here in studio taking your phone calls. Tom, I don't know when you start Christmas shopping. It seems like a lot of my guests haven't even started yet, but I want to point you in the direction of a great New Bedford and Fall River retailer store you know very well, Carter's Clothing and Footwear. They've been family owned and operated since 1947, covering all our work and casual needs. It's a great brand you can trust, Carter's Clothing and Footwear. Both locations, downtown New Bedford and on Plymouth Ave in Fall River, offer free parking. Both locations often have the owners right on premise. Sometimes I know when I go into the New Bedford store, there's Kevin Carter right there. Both stores are open 7 days a week with extended hours during the holidays, and both stores have friendly, helpful customer service from staff that really, really great. Allows you to get in, use the free parking, and get out really quick. They have a wide variety of clothing from head to toe, including socks, hats, gloves, thermal underwear. I know that our friend Hank Turgeon gets all his thermal underwear there. Right?
Yeah.
And I know Kevin Cobbs was telling me the other day, he was heading out to a road detail. He's retired, but he's still doing road details here in Fayetteville. And he had his long underwear on from Carter's Clothing and Footwear. They have all kinds of other great brands. Not only is Carter a brand you can trust, but they sell the brands you can trust. Under Armour, Champion, Levi's, Timberland. All kinds of great footwear from casual to really heavy-duty boots. Great work. Clothing there, and best of all, you can trust them with a gift certificate. You can get a gift certificate there, get all your shopping done in one fell swoop. Head into Carter's Clothing and Footwear in time for the holidays. It's a brand you can trust, right, Tom?
Oh, big time. I mean, you said I'm going to have to direct you to, I know the directions. I have the expressway to that place, and I go all the way back to the days of Steve.
You do?
Oh, yeah.
508-996-0500, Carter's Clothing and Footwear. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Good morning.
How you doing,
my friend?
Good morning,
Sheriff Hodgson.
Good morning, caller.
I want to thank you for your public service that you always done.
Oh, thank you.
I just want to ask a question about the governor we have here. She's threatening to harbor and abet criminals, and I consider all illegals that broke the law. They're lawbreakers, as far as I'm concerned. Shouldn't she be? If she does that, shouldn't she be charged with something?
Well, there is always that debate about whether or not she could be charged under Title VIII. But I'm not sure that the federal government is going to go to that length. But one thing I know for sure, and I know Tom Homan very well, we've been friends for years, you can bet he's going to be targeting Massachusetts on behalf of President Trump. And it doesn't matter what Maura Healey says. He's going to stand up for us, all the people of our communities who have a right to have the rule of law enforced. It's not Governor Healey's place to decide, because she was elected, that she gets to pick and choose who has to follow the law and who doesn't. And people have had it. They're fed up with it. From Roxbury throughout the whole Commonwealth of Massachusetts, she keeps encouraging these people to come. And as I had mentioned earlier on the show, she's on the other side of the border while I'm in McAllen, Texas at the processing station working with CBP. And she's saying publicly that the United States is wrong for not letting these people come in violation of the law. And she was the Attorney General at the time. She hasn't changed one bit. She's only doubled down. And frankly, she ought to look for another job as far as I'm concerned, because she's not fulfilling her oath.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for the call, my friend. Tom, I wonder, Massachusetts has a lot of reliance on the federal government.
Absolutely.
And we just saw the other day 3 illegal aliens arrested for sexually assaulting children.
Yes.
These are the people that Governor Healy wants to protect.
Yes. And what's really outrageous is a lot of these kids, people don't know where they are. They don't know who they're with. They don't know if they're legitimately their parents or in foster care. They're exposed to these predators who are coming in over the border in huge numbers. So the bottom line is, you would think that anybody in government would do everything they could to protect those kids. Never mind that the adults that are being victimized as well.
Tom, I wonder if, for instance, she's invoking the name of the state police, right, in all of this?
Right.
Yeah, she's a commander-in-chief. But I wonder if the state police unions have considered or would consider taking a vote of no confidence, right? Or maybe some of these city departments taking a vote of no confidence in the governor.
Yeah, it's always difficult when people work for the state, because then they get targeted if they try.
Yes.
We saw that at the federal level. I mean, if the ICE, the special agent in charge of ICE in a particular state starts to stand up against the Biden policies, all of a sudden they get transferred to another place like Arizona or something. Now they have to uproot their family and go somewhere else. So they hold that over people's head, so they won't be able to come out and say what they have to say. But there does come a point where, and particularly in law enforcement, I don't care whether it's a governor or whoever else is telling you, you cannot do what you took an oath to do,
right,
to protect people. That's a time where, and believe me, the men and women in blue are people who are very committed, put their lives on the line every day,
right,
to keeping people safe. And to have somebody say, no, you're not going to be able to do that. We're going to marginalize your ability to do it. And by the way, we're going to expose you to greater risks as well.
Exactly.
There comes a point where, yes, it's time for us to stand up together and say, no, this is not about you and your ideology. It's about the people that are blindly trusting us to do what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, I just wonder if some state police can't start thinking about maybe through their union. You got to do it through the union. Take a vote of no confidence in the governor, maybe in the attorney general. I know that, in these city departments, they can do it as well, because they all know the amount of fentanyl damage that the illegal aliens are doing to this country. They all go to fentanyl overdoses.
Yes,
they all do.
Yes. It's look. This is a literally as bread and butter an issue as you can get in any community when it comes to people's safety.
Right.
So I do think that you started to raise the issue of the feds.
Yes.
And does the states rely on federal support? The feds rely on state and local support as well.
Okay.
From law enforcement, because they're not in the communities every day.
Right.
Right. So you need the intelligence from New Bedford Police, Fall River, state police, all these people, because we're dealing with the bad guys every day. The prisons, when they're coming into our prisons. Why in God's name would any elected official want to make it harder for us to be able to keep those people in the prison under legitimate detainers, but rather have them out in the community victimizing more people again? Why would you ever think that was okay?
Tom, when they used to come into your jail, which is no longer your jail, it's now Sheriff Haru's jail.
Yes.
Did you run them through the computer to see if they were wanted by INS?
Absolutely.
Do you know if that's being done anymore?
I don't. Well, we had people. I signed on to the 287G program.
Okay.
So I had people who were sent to Georgia, to the Training Academy, Georgia, were trained to deal with ICE policy, but also be able to get into the database where other agencies who aren't trained can't get deep into that database.
And that program is the 280G.
287G.
287G. Now, did Sheriff Haru get out of that?
They shut that down with everything else when we when they shut us down. They shut down our detention. They shut down 287G. And we were the model for the nation. It never failed an audit.
So when he says the other day to the New Bedford Light that about 10% of his inmates' population are foreign born.
That's possible. That's possible. But the question is, if you don't delve into the database,
Right.
ICE can't really understand if this is a name that is an alias name that's been used before through ICE.
Right.
It gets deeper into the database, and then ICE can make a determination based on their information whether or not that person needs to be held. But if you're not doing that, then ICE doesn't know, and they can't, and they don't have the time to be able to get people to come down because of manpower constraints. Even if you have somebody and you're before they get processed and get bailed out, by the time an agent gets down here, it's too late. But with 287G, we could hold them.
So we are less safe now.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
And with these aliens, criminal illegal aliens all over the country, and they're slowly getting rooted out because municipalities are waking up, that makes us really, if you can make it a law enforcement free zone for illegal aliens, they're all going to come here.
Well, that's what's going on. Right. You know, keep in mind, a few years back, Massachusetts had the highest percentage increase in illegal aliens than any other state in the United States.
And that's because they gave them driver's licenses.
Gave them driver's licenses. The legislature kept saying, well, first it was driver's licenses for illegals, then it was family to work driver's license. They started changing the names to make it more palatable to people, as though although it was somehow going to change the fact they didn't belong here and they shouldn't have licenses.
And that's why your insurance is so much higher.
Absolutely.
It's unbelievable. I mean, I know people try to deny it. I'm like, what's the major change? It is the illegal aliens being given driver's licenses.
Yes.
You don't go to you don't have a debt driving school in San Salvador, right? You don't. Here we go. We're going back to the phones. Good morning. Thanks for holding. Hello, you're on the air. You're on the air.
Hi, this is Mark. How are you?
Good, doing well, Mark. How are you?
Good. I'm calling about the shelter in Taunton. I was there. I worked there for 5.5 years. I met my wife there. She opened that hotel as a Regency, if you remember way back when. She did 20 years there. They've got this 9-year option that Healy signed or whatever. I think that when they come down here, they could start the deportations there. You call the owners of this hotel. They're very nice. They're very nice people. They've got a few hotels. This is the only one that I know of that they're doing this as their civic thing. I remember when we were there, that hotel parking lot will fit a dozen tour buses. We've had them for Great Woods. You can have the buses there, and our motto at the hotel used to be in the middle of it all. You're 45 minutes away from Joint Base Cape Cod, 45 minutes away from Logan, 45 minutes from TF Green, and 45 minutes from the Mass Pike if you want to drive them yourself somewhere. And what a great thank you that would be to Maura Healy is to continue the operation there so that hotel can make some money, and when they pick them up, they get processed right through there. They either go on a bus to Logan, a bus to Joint Base Cape Cod, or a bus to wherever, and you'll have a whole hotel. You can keep them there until they go. So you're not separating families. The whole family can go.
Right, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? And like I said, the hotel has already been decommissioned as a hotel. Do you know what I mean? The phones, it's already to start with them folks, and you can have the hearings right there. They've got like 6 meeting rooms. There's an amphitheater, you guys. If you've never been in there, the Mason Amphitheater, you could set that up like a mini Supreme Court. A couple of banquet tables with some white toppers. You can put a judge in there. And you can put a judge in any, and one-stop shopping. They get processed out through there, or they get processed to stay here.
Mark, that is a fantastic idea.
It's a great idea. Yeah, and
I hope it. This. What is his name? Homan.
Tom Homan.
Tom Homan.
Oh my God! I love this guy.
Yeah,
I
he's
would
great.
love him to come down here. Just go right down and speak to the owners in Brockton. Say, you know what? We're going to take over this lease, okay? And the parking lot's already there. It's already there.
Yeah.
Can fit all the buses.
Yeah, I'll pass that on to him.
Mark, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.
You're talking to the right man, that's for sure.
Yeah, you know, what's really interesting is, which Mark may not know, but I think I mentioned this to you before, maybe on the air, I'm not sure. But there's a building being built right near that in the industrial park, I'm told. Construction worker that's working on the project had indicated that they're not allowed to bring their phones to the construction site because they don't want anybody taking pictures.
Right.
But they're creating new housing there. I'm told that and we're trying to identify the exact location, outside of Boston, they're getting ready to clear 250 acres of trees. What happened to the environmentalists?
Right.
To do more housing. But I like the idea that Mark had. You actually could do it all right there. And I'm going to pass it on to Tom Homan.
508-996-0500. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Chris, Tom, good morning. That's actually like a great idea. Tom, the only concern that I have, I'm not as optimistic as you are about these governors really not being a major obstacle. I'm reading articles that they're all convening right now to try to tie it up in court, and the people are sick of this being tied up in court. We want to see results. And my question is to you is, I think this is just like the 60s in the civil rights movement. When down south, when Kennedy had to send federal marshals down to tell that governor, step out of the way or you will be arrested. President-elect Trump has to show force to one of these governors, make an example out of them. This has to stop, Tom. It has to stop because, Tom, this is good. This is destroying the middle class. I'm seeing it firsthand. Why is our rent outrageous? Why is our health care outrageous?
He's at the hospital.
You just mentioned insurance. It's a number of things. But the thing that frustrates me is that we know what the problem is. We know what the solution is. I'm afraid they're going to tie it up in court. President Trump has to use laws, every tool, as they call it, in the toolbox, and basically stream this as quick as possible so they cannot stop it. But I think the only way it's going to stop, Tom, I really believe this, and you have to just float this idea out there. Yeah. He's never going to win Massachusetts. Pick Massachusetts, please.
Yeah. Thanks for the call. Tom, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the caller raises a good point. But I think where we're going to be most effective is in these instances where governors are saying, hey, we're going to do everything we can to block the federal government's responsibility to keep us safe and get these illegals out of here.
Yeah.
Is gather your neighbors and your friends. We'll do a statewide protest up at the State House to get rid of Governor Healy and let her know we're not playing games here. This is our neighborhood. This is our state. And you are not going to continue to do this. And we'll stand with the federal government and we'll stand with Tom Homan. And he's not going to be deterred. Trust me.
No, you know Homan.
And they're going to start making the arrests and she can yell and scream and kick her feet all she wants. But it's going to happen.
People have to get involved, too, with the Republican State Committee. That's the best way to do it, I think. Then go on, it's massgop.com, and then you can filter down through there. Your wife's on the committee, Bob McConnell's on the committee, and you can get plugged into some of these town committees so that you can stay in the loop, stay in the knowledge. Folks, stick around. If you're on hold today, we'll be right back. They do a nice job over at the Ruby Room.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was the original title of that song by Traffic. Anyway, 508-996-0500. Good morning. Thanks for holding. You're live on the air.
Hello.
Hello, you're on the air with Tom.
Oh, hi. How are you?
Hi,
Hi, Chris. This is Cheryl Gouvet. I'm calling again about the petition for the Sober House.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing? How's your petition going?
Pretty good, but I'm doing a lot of walking, so I just wanted to update your listeners that I will be at Kings Highway Stop and Shop on Sunday, 1 to 4, so I'm hoping people will get out and come up and ask me about the petition.
So Cheryl Gouvet is getting signatures to slow down or stop, maybe even eliminate sober houses in the greater New Bedford area, particularly in New Bedford. And tomorrow morning, you'll be where and when?
So tomorrow I'm just going to be walking the neighborhoods in the afternoon. But the petition is more to get stricter guidelines at the state level, so that those individuals who are coming in from outside of the city of New Bedford and opening up improper sober homes, that's why we want to stop that, as opposed to people who are doing it properly. So I usually walk the neighborhoods whenever it's a good day.
Yes.
And then on Sundays I try to get to like a Stop and Shop or a Shaw's, so I'll be in the North End at Kings Highway on Sunday, maybe 1 to 4.
And how's the reception?
Reception's been really good. So I've had a lot of amazing conversations with people in the city of New Bedford. I've listened to a lot of people who do have some, don't agree with the petition. And I did have a woman this week who told me that, Cheryl, if they're stricter, the regulations are stricter, I'm afraid they'll all go away. And she goes, and people need help, which I really hadn't heard that yet. So I'm getting, I would say, 95% agreement, and for those people I've talked to, and probably 5% not, saying, they're very worried about that population and the high-risk population not having places to go. So, yeah, so it's going pretty well.
Cheryl, I really appreciate all your civic involvement, and thanks. And we'll see you tomorrow down at the Stop and Shop in the North End of New Bedford off Tarkland Hill Road. Thank you for the call.
It's so important what she's doing.
Right, so
God
important.
Bless her. The people do need help, and you want to make sure that the sober houses are doing exactly what they need to do to get the complete help.
Absolutely.
And
We're
not
going to
use further alternatives.
Take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, the boys are back in town. The Trump administration is back in town, and we have Tom Hodgson back here in the studio. Always great to have Tom. So, Tom, I think the administration's unfolding pretty great, don't you?
I do, and it's going to be the non-establishment type administration, more reflective of us.
Tom, I heard a congresswoman from down south on with Tucker Carlson the night of the election saying that now more than ever they're going to come after Donald Trump.
Oh, sure. They see their money deals and all the things that they had done in this structure of incestuous, institutionalized Washington falling apart. And they saw it when he first ran, when he said, I'm going to drain the swamp. And they started right away on him.
Absolutely, they did.
But now the people have come out in big numbers and said, oh, no, we want that back again. We want our government back. And now they're going to try, but it's not going to work.
People have to support the president.
Absolutely. No question about it.
People have to support their president. People have to think for a second. We elected Donald Trump and his brain to make decisions, and we can't get caught up in the second guessing of his decisions.
No, and the other thing is to an important
I'm not
part
saying
of this,
blind loyalty, but
right. But we also have to be supportive of each other.
Yes.
Ourselves.
Right.
Because we all want the same thing.
Right.
Party doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
The flag's red, white, and blue, and we're one fabric. Right?
Exactly. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Good morning, gentlemen. Gilly Satfield.
Hey, Gilly.
Tom, I called in to correct Chris, but I want to thank you and Joanne all the work you've done for Trump.
Oh,
okay, I want to thank you for the work you guys did. Why I called in, because the lady that called and said about she's going to be with the petitions at Stop and Shop on Kings Highway.
Yes.
Yeah, well, you said before you went off to the commercial tomorrow's Saturday. It's Sunday that she's going to be at Stop and Shop.
Thank you. What would I do without you? Thank you, Gilly. I appreciate that. 508-996-0500. Good morning. Thanks for holding. Hello, you're on the air. You're on the air.
Chris.
Yes.
It's Sam.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
I know we're up against the clock. Is there anything that Tom can do about getting Trump to put a stop to this power problem that we're going to be having to buy power from the wind source off the coast? Because we are going to be paying 3 times the amount of what we're paying now. And I just want to know if they can stop Healy from doing something like that.
Well, I don't know specifically what the logistics of how they would come at it, but I know the president is going to be very, very focused on this issue. He's already spoken out about wind power and all these other things that have been going on, the impacts on the fishing industry and all of that. So it is on his agenda.
Thanks
that
for the call,
I do know.
Sam. Tom, it is, the states have certain rights, and she's got all in on this offshore wind for whatever reason. They don't like the oil and gas industry, even though we've never known a life without oil and gas.
Right.
And I wouldn't want to know that life. But there is a lot to discuss about energy, Tom, and I know you'll be on top of all of it. You're the most powerful man, the biggest resource we have now, because only you really can talk to the Trump administration. None of the our elected officials seem to want to.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was fortunate to work with the president back in his first term and develop good relationships with him and other
Thanks,
staff at
Tom.
the White House.